Hello, everybody. I hope you all are doing well. Welcome back to the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. We're going to be continuing off where we left off, where we're trying to really grasp the truth of what really happened. And we're trying to get Miss Pavlova here to tell us the truth. You all suspect me, don't you? Seaman Stroganoff. Nina is a woman of sea. She is a daughter of a strong sailor. 2 years ago, they noticed her dancing skills and she went away to join ballet company. But before, she was a dancer on this ship, a member of the ship's band. You do not accuse ship's angels of being criminal. Ah, so that's it. You say that when young student died, Nina was there in this cabin. That is not possible. I give my tooth. Well, that is most interesting. And why would you give your tooth, pray? How can you be so sure? You are a great detective, you should know. Look truth in eyes. Cabin bulkhead was bolted shut from the inside. Nobody could go into the cabin. Not Nina, not anyone. Or you want me to tell me that the killer can walk through locked doors? Yet, it's impossible. Ugh, he's right. But wait, I've read about this in detective stories. People often tie threads around door latches so they can open and close them from the outside. Thread? Are you stupid? These bulkheads are not barn doors. Certainly not. There are watertight doors, as one would expect to find any modern steamship. Constructed of heavy steel with a narrow gap in sight. No thread or needles or magnets could have been used. No? No, of course not. I thought so too. Mr. Naruto suggested it earlier, so... Sasatsu-san, how can you shift it onto me like that? So Seaman Stroganoff has a valid point. The cabin door couldn't have been bolted from the outside. Not necessarily. What? I put it to you that I could bolt this cabin door without laying a finger on it. And in this very cabin, we can see traces of the method I have been used before. I don't believe it. Well, Mr. Naruto, I believe you know what I mean, don't you? A way to shut the bolts of the cabin door from the outside. One way does spring to mind, yes. Do you really know what Mr. Sholmes means, Mr. Naruto? Yes, and so should you, because we've seen it happen. Indeed we have. So would you care to do the honors, Mr. Naruto? I mean, I'm already in trouble. I guess I'm gonna have to do it. Point out the telling signs of the methods that was used to slide the cabin doors across. Wait, what? Point out the telling signs of the method. Oh, right here. Can I not present it? Excuse me? What does it want me to do?
Yes!
Oh wait, just present. I can look at it. Look at the bookcase there. See how all the books and things on it have toppled over? That must have happened when the ship made its emergency stop before. Yes, that's right. It is a very powerful vessel after all. When the engines are thrown into reverse, a violent jolt goes across the ship. Any small object that aren't fastened down are bound to fall over. I believe... yes. It's what's known as a force of inertia acting on all objects. Is there nothing Sasatsu-san doesn't know? Or is that... oh, that isn't in her book at least. Well, whatever it's called, the same force that pushes over those books on the bookcase also made something else in this cabin move. The bolt on the cabin. It was very obvious just after the emergency stop that the ship made earlier. We had come into this cabin not long before, and we hadn't bolted the door. But then. Hello? Is anybody in there? Shout if you need assistance. Oh, that sounds like Inspector Hosonaga. Oh, yes. That's it. When the ship stopped suddenly, the bolt flew across and locked the door. Yes, it's made of metal, but it's small and light enough to be moved by the ship's sudden change of speed. On the force of Neptia. Oh god. If you want to call it that. Are you trying to say last night, after Mr. Sogi was killed? Yeah, there. It just shut itself and all the books fell over. Wow, it's really easy to open the doors here. The SS Bureau made another emergency stop? When I woke up this morning and looked around the cabin, I thought it looked a little odd. All the books on the shelves had toppled over, and all the ornaments. It was almost as if someone had run their hand across the shelves, deliberately knocked everything over. Oh yes, I remember that. I stood them all up again, didn't I? Then when we came into the cabin, we were surprised to see the same thing in here. All the books and everything had toppled over, just like in Mr. Sogi's cabin. Oh my! Do you have anything to say about this, Miss Pavlova? Are you out of your mind? You say Bureau made emergency stop? It does seem a little far-fetched. How could that possibly have happened? Unless you're saying that the culprit is actually someone from the engine room. Oh, it is simple enough. Huh? Are you forgetting the button in the passageway outside? Used to trigger the emergency alarm? Oh yes, of course. There was a notice, wasn't there, telling you only press the button in times of emergency. On dark nights when the fog is dense, the captain cannot afford to rely on the eyes of his outlook alone. Hence the placement of a number of buttons around the vessel to allow any crew to raise the alarm. Sort of button one is almost compelled to press to satisfy one's curiosity. Wait! It was you! When the button is pressed, two things happen in the interest of safety. The emergency alarm bells and the vessels come to a complete stop. Oh, he pushed the button earlier. As indeed it did a little earlier today. I mean, it's a good thing he pressed it, for our sakes. Mr. Sholmes, surely it wasn't you who... As I always say, a button has but one purpose in life. To be pressed, whatever the occasion. He sounds almost proud of himself. How dare you mess with the ship? I report you to Captain. You are in much trouble now. Now, I'm sure all of that can wait until later. Let us not overlook the fact that we have now learned a valuable lesson. When the vessel makes an emergency stop, the bolts on the cabin door slide closed. So, what we must now consider... Yes, it all comes down to one thing now. Last night, after what happened to Mr. Sogi, did this ship make an emergency stop or did it not? You are idiots. Bureau is a huge ship with many passengers. If you make an emergency stop even in the middle of the night, there would be chaos everywhere. What are your thoughts, Mr. Naruto? Well, it's certainly possible that some kind of emergency happened last night. We have evidence to support that idea. Really? What evidence, Mr. Naruto? Fascinating. Do show us, my good man. What evidence promotes the theory that some emergency gripped the vessel last night? Well, let's see. According to our ship's log, something happened between those hours. So let's see if we can present this. Seaman Stroganov, it's your duty to patrol the first-class area of the ship, isn't that right? That is correct. Why? The ship's log here, this would be where you record the details of your duties. What are you doing that? That is mine. You rather carelessly left it atop a little makeshift bureau in the passageway out there. But as responsible passengers, we took into our care with mind to return it to you later. I left it there on purpose. That is where I put it always. The point is, looking at what you usually record, it's clear that under normal circumstances, you write the phrase "nothing to report" every 30 minutes. But from 2 o'clock last night until first light this morning, nothing was recorded at all. Nothing recorded in the log? That is... duh, because nothing happened. If nothing happened, you would normally write nothing to report, wouldn't you? Go. Indeed so, which tells us that shortly after 2 a.m., something happened here aboard the SS Bureau. Something sufficiently significant to make you forget to fill in the ship's log, in fact. Are you suggesting that the ship really did make an emergency stop in the middle of the night? Stop talking rubbish. If I'm perfectly honest, I find that a little hard to believe myself. Oh, why? Well, because if something as major as emergency stop really happened, surely all of us would have noticed. That's very true. Thanks to the emergency stops we experienced earlier, we all know what it feels like now. The ships lurched so violently and the alarm bell was so loud. I can't imagine that anybody would sleep through that, even if it happened in the dead of night. Well, no, that's a good point. So what happened? What of the throbbing? Sorry? What do you mean? Your head, man. Throbbing of your head since this morning. We have all suffered with it. Oh yes, I have a headache, you're right. In fact, I haven't been feeling myself since I woke up today. Did everyone literally just forget, or did they hit their head? Nor have I. My head has been feeling heavy ever since dawn. Yes, you've all been afflicted, haven't you? Just as I suspected. He's right, my head's been throbbing today too. And since eating dinner yesterday evening, everything has felt sort of hazy. I can't really remember anything that happened after I climbed back inside the wardrobe. Then the first thing I noticed this morning was the throbbing pain in my head. I had already been dragged out of the wardrobe, and those handcuffs put to me by that point. Why didn't I wake up when all that was happening to me? Well, I guess he was knocked out. Tell me, Mr. Naruto. You boarded this vessel as a stowaway, didn't you? Oh, well, yes, sorry. The stowaway class of accommodation doesn't really include meals. What did you survive on? Well, Kazemu looked after me. He was always happy to share his meals. So you enjoyed some of the whole roast chicken dish that was served yesterday's evening, I take it? Oh, something with the whole roast. Yes, in fact. Had all of that. Kazuma wasn't fond of chicken. Oh, really? So the victim didn't eat any of the chicken at all? That's right. He didn't touch it. Is that relevant? My dear fellow, does not strike you? Oh, Mr. Sholmes, do you mean to say that there was something wrong with the chicken? I do. No, really? Is that really true? The meal prepped by the passenger last night had been tampered with. Oh my gosh, this has all been planned for thoroughly then. Tampered with by the addiction of a soporific design to induce a very sleep slumber to people who consumed it. A sleeping drug. Do you mean whoever did this laced every meal with a sleeping drug so no one would notice the ship's emergency stop? Mr. Naruto, of course that's not what Mr. Sholmes means. What a far-fetched idea. Precisely. Lacing every meal of every passenger on board with a soporific drug would certainly be impossible. Unless, that is, every single member of the crew was a conspirator. What? Mr. Sholmes? Excuse me? Well, Seaman? Ugh. I'm sorry to say that any more deception in this matter will get you nowhere. If you refuse to talk, there would have to be an inquiry made through the shipping company, of course. And were that to happen, every member of the crew and the captain himself would be hauled over the coals for aiding and abetting a renegade. Oh, nothing to say now, huh? Please, no more. I will tell you everything. Huh? I cannot make problems like this for everyone anymore. These crewmen are your former comrades, I believe. Yes. So when I decided to run away, I asked them to help me. We all agreed to help. Everyone together. She threw away everything. Her fame in the ballet, Mother Russia. We wanted to help out our angel. I don't believe it. You are right. We put sleeping jug in chicken last night. Yes, I remember now. I didn't know I was chewing a lump of something strange and bitter at one point. Duh. We cannot make all drug, did you say, dissolve? Talk about heavy seasoning. At midnight in waters near Shanghai, we brought our angel on board. Oh, so they did stop by a port. She was helped by a comrade on shore with small fishing boats. Alright, so the reason why nobody noticed we stopped was because everyone was put to sleep by the drug. While all the passengers of the beret slept soundly, thanks to the almost magical effects of the slumber-inducing potion, their evening meals had contained. So if that's what happened, the only people awake on the ship last night were the crewmen and people who disliked chicken, and the newly aborted passenger, Miss Pavlova. And that means it would have been possible for you, who could have used the emergency stop trick to lock Kazuma's cabin door. But how does that make sense? Surely every cabin door would have ended up locked in that case, and there would have been complete chaos. Oh, I wouldn't say so. What? Oh, of course! Just like us. All the other passengers would have eaten their evening meal of chicken in their cabins, after which they would have been overwhelmed by the tiredness because of the sleeping drug. Quite. And accordingly, all passengers were already in their cabins for the night. Yes. The overwhelming majority of passengers would have habitually slept with their cabin doors bolted anyways. And so not one of them would have found it remarkable to find the door locked in the morning. In summary, in order to fall asleep, oh, I skipped that. The culprit brought the entire vessel to emergency stop in early hours of the morning. You have talked long time and said many things. What is point? The point is whatever I said earlier. There was somebody else present on the scene when the victim lost his life last night. Someone who left a message in Russian on the floor in an attempt to incriminate another. Someone who tried desperately to hide the broken fragments of glass that would reveal the culprit's identity. And someone who abused the ship's emergency stop procedure in order to lock a door. All told, a busy night. But... I don't know any of this. I'm just a little girl. You like to speak with your long English words and explain your clever ideas. But I am sailor, and sailors don't listen to long boring stories. We don't believe. Sailors like me, we trust only what we see with our eyes. A laudable trait. What? I'm quite of the same disposition, my good man. Observations to me is everything. Mr. Naruto? Oh, yes. Do you hear it? The customary cry of guilt on the wind? What? A customary cry of guilt? Sorry? You've lost me. Proof of involvement, man. But you can't hear such a call with your ears. No. You must hear it with your eyes. For observation is the basis of all deduction. Okay, he's lost me completely there. What are you talking about? Exactly. Please tell me what you're talking about. I believe the time has come. For one final logic and reasoning spectacle. Oh no, not one more. To expose the truth. Oh, here we go again. So, Miss Naruto, your assistance, if you please. With what exactly, Mr. Sholmes? With observation, my dear fellow. Just as I said, are these two provocateurs? Observation. If you remember, Mr. Naruto, we know that somebody tried to fabricate evidence, don't we? By tampering with the scene of Mr. Osogi's death. What we're looking for is some trace of evidence that one of these two was there when it happened. Precisely. You are delightfully quick to grasp my meaning. Alright, I'll see what I can see. So we're looking for a trace of evidence that shows someone else was there last night when Kazuma died. Oh wait, what would suggest that someone else was there? Wait, did I see something in his pocket? Oh, I mean, ink stain, literally right here. Seaman Stroganoff? You seem to have a large purple stain on the back of your white uniform there. Huh? Oh yes, I don't know where the dirt comes from. Though nothing in particular comes to mind about the stain. What are you trying to say? It would appear that the significance of this stain has escaped your attention, Seaman. Allow us to make it plain. It's a very large purple stain on the back of Seaman Stroganoff's uniform, and I think what made it is clear. Indeed it is. So, Mr. Naruto, present the evidence that proves it all. My pleasure. Alright then, the evidence that proves that what stain on the back of Seaman Stroganoff's uniform really is. Let's see, do I have anything else that would prove better? No, it's clear.
Yes!
The crime scene photograph. Yes, it's this photograph and the ink it shows. That's what caused the stain on the uniform. Ink? A rather unusual color of ink. Purple. Ugh. The penny drops at last. Now you see the significance. The Russian word on left on the floor next to the victim's body was written in a purple ink. And the stain on the back of your uniform is ink of the exact same color. If the ink had been dry, it couldn't possibly have stained your uniform in that way, which means you must have been present in the cabin in the moments immediately after the ink was spilt. Alright. Yes. It was me. I did it. Everything. I arranged everything in Dead Student Cabin to make it look like Wardrobe Man did it. Then I pushed the button to make Bure do emergency stop and the bolt cabin door shut. I did everything so no one would suspect our angel. Biff, please. But he didn't say he actually killed the students, so who actually did it? Sorry, Angel, let me do talking. It was after 1 in the morning. I was on duty patrolling passageway. Then when an angel came to me, he was white like a sheet. Biff, please. You must help me. Oh, maybe it was just an accident. I went with her. The door to the cabin number 1 was open. When I looked inside, I saw a student boy on the floor. What happened here? Oh, what a really unfortunate thing to happen. Please don't tell anyone. My little one. My little furry friend. Everything that happened in the cabin is like Angel told you. The kitten escaped through the ventilator in Mr. Sogi's cabin. Then he tripped over it and broke his neck when he fell to the floor. Yes, that is right. So after the incident, when the cat ran away, Miss Pavlova then visited the cabin next to hers, only to find its occupants lying lifeless on the floor. She said she was worried when she heard sounds of something falling on the floor. That's when she went to look. No, Angel? The door was not locked, so she opened to look, and you already know what happened after that. There's just one thing, if you wouldn't mind. What? When you went to Mr. Sogi's cabin, Miss Pavlova, was he already dead? Why... I already told you. When Nina opened the door to student's cabin and looked inside, I was asking Miss Pavlova. Well, Miss Pavlova? Ah, so yeah, he was already dead. Oh. Yes, that is right. I saw him, it was dark and he was wearing black, but he was on the floor, not moving. I was scared. I understand, and I believe you. So, is that finally it now? Have we discovered the real truth about Kazuma's death at last? Ah, something very nearly slipped my mind. Oh, Mr. Sholmes. This photograph. Yes, I took this myself, you know? The cause of death was a broken neck, therefore the victim died instantly. The unfortunate incident that precipitated these events, a kitten on which the victim stumbled. However, if those are the facts, there's one particular area in this photograph that seems to be somewhat unnatural. Would it be that he's laying on his front? What do you mean, unnatural? What are your thoughts on the matter, Mr. Naruto? Oh, well... If Kazuma tripped and fell by some terrible stroke of bad luck and broke his neck, which part of this photograph print seems unnatural? Well, let's see if there's anything specific. Really, to me, it's the body itself. I mean, if you fell face first, you wouldn't really break your neck, would you?
Yes!
It must be here, surely. Okay, maybe I have to be more specific. Allow me a piece of advice regarding the presumed detective. Blah, blah, blah. I pushed the wrong button. Okay, well, I have to choose a specific place, apparently. Imagine, if you will, losing your footing yourself. Would you land as the victim has? What of your hands? Oh, should I have marked his hands? I mean, I think I had the right idea, but I have no idea what I should have marked. You look like the sort of fellow who stumbles with some regularity. This is an easy task. What do I... If Kazuma tripped and fell by some terrible stroke of luck and break his neck, what part of the photograph seems unnatural? Oh, okay. Is it his hands? Am I supposed to say his hands?
Yes!
Any of his hands? Must be here. Oh, I got this wrong again. Okay, I'm kind of stumped at what I'm supposed to be picking out, because this isn't super clear to me just yet. Oh, was there like a fast way to get through dialogue? Alright, just gotta keep skipping through, I guess. Come on, get me back to where the victim. If it's wrong, which part of the photograph seems unnatural? I mean, is there anything I can observe on him? It doesn't seem like I can observe anything. Okay, I'm kind of stumped here. Like, is other hand? Okay, there we go. Alright, if he really fell due to an unfortunate accident, then this fist doesn't seem quite right. I mean, to be fair, sometimes I catch myself with my own fist. The exact same thought occurred to me. In a fall, one's instinct is to not fall on palm, In a fall, one's instinct is to open the palms flat. I remember when I went on like a snowboarding trip, they told us not to use our palms and to try using our fists. Because if we try using our palms, I thought we were going to break our wrists. Yet, here we see the victim with his left hand tightly balled into a fist. Almost, you might say, as though he were gripping something. What do you mean? Simply that I took liberty of investigating the victim's fist a short while ago. You did? And what, pray, do you imagine found there, my dear fellow? Mr. Sholmes, show us, please. Why, of course, my dear madam. Why would I keep you in suspense? Well, you would. This is what I found. Oh, a crescent moon with a little gemstone in the middle. Isn't that her earring? Yes, you're right. A crescent moon is very pretty. But what does it tell us? Tells us nothing. I'm not so sure that crescent moon looks like familiar somehow. I'm sure I've seen it somewhere before. Observation, Mr. Naruto. That is the key. What? The truth is now tantalizing close. How did that crescent moon come to Kazuma's clenched fist? This is the final clue, the last piece of the puzzle. Ask yourself, what does this little crescent moon mean? What significance has it? And observe. Find the answers with your own eyes. Alright, where did the crescent moon come from? That is something we're going to have to answer on the next part. So, thank you all so much for watching. Remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And until then, I will see you all later. Goodbye.